Okay, remember that our big idea is what is equivalence. We've been working on solving equations. We've been working on one-step equations, one-step equations with fractions for coefficients, with decimals as coefficients. Then we've been working on two-step equations, okay? So what we need to remember is they're not always going to have an equation for us. And today, we're going to branch into something new. But it's still what is equivalence? By the end of the lesson, you need to be able to tell me why it's important to define a variable before writing an equation. The I can statement is simply to write a two-step equation, knowing that after you write it, they're probably going to have you solve it. So keep that in mind. But you should be already an expert at that. So we are going to start with writing equations. So writing equations is kind of like translating. You've got to be able to look at words and change the words into numbers. Here's how we're going to do that. You're going to describe a situation using words. You're going to define a variable, and then you are going to translate it into numbers. Before we start, well, actually, look at example 1 on page 130. They have already described a situation using words, okay? We've already described a situation using words, so that's where we're starting. And they're saying 8 less than 3 times a number is negative 23. Well, let's look at some of these words in the sentence and see how we can translate them, okay? 8 is just going to be the number 8. That's pretty obvious, right? But when we see the word less, what does that make you think of? What operation is probably happening? Subtraction. Very good. So less, we're dealing with subtraction. All right? They say the word is, right? 8 less than 3 times the number is negative 21. What do we think is going to be represented by in an equation? The equals. Very good, Lauren. So the equals, is and equals are the same thing. Now, what about a number? They said a number. What do you think we're going to represent that by? A variable. Very good. So when we're not sure what the number is, we're going to represent that with a variable. And then they said 3 times a number. What do we think of when we see times? Multiplication. Excellent. All right, so keep all of these things in mind. All right? All right, we got to be able to translate from certain words to numbers. So when they say 8 less than 3 times a number, and you've got to be careful with 8 less than 3 times a number. How are we going to write 3 times a number? What do we think, Madison? 3 times x. Can I simplify that? Can I just write 3x? Right? Because it's a number and a variable coefficient, we can write it like that. So let me ask you this. 8 less than 3 times a number. Is that 8 minus 3x? Or is that 3x minus 8? Tell your neighbor which one do you think it is. 8 less than 3 times a number. Is that 8 minus 3x or 3x minus 8? All right, my Sean. What did Stephanie think it was? She thought this one, 3x minus 8, and that would be correct. So think about situations where you say something like this. If Anthony weighs 10 pounds less than Corbin, how do we find out how much Anthony weighs? We take Corbin's weight and subtract 10. If we're playing volleyball and Springfield scored 5 points less than Sydney, I would take Sydney's score and subtract that 5. That's true. We did beat them, but that's okay. If I would say 7 less than 10, how am I going to write 7 less than 10? No, it's not. It's not 7 minus 10. It's 10 minus 7. So we have to be careful. All right? Now, 8 less than 3 times the number means it's 3n minus 8. And we know that that is, which is equals, negative 21. All right? So be very careful when you're translating these. Let's do another example real quick. 3 more than half a number is 15. So I've already described this using words. Okay? Our variable is going to be number. I would just use n. Right? In your margins of your books, I want you to write this down using numbers. How would you write an equation for 3 more than half a number is 15? Do it now. Yep, in the margin anywhere. 3 more than half a number is 15. Who thinks they have an answer for 3 more than half a number is 15? Morgan, what do you think? 3 plus 1/2 n equals 15. Thumbs up or down. Do we agree or disagree or don't know is sideways? Okay? Very good, Morgan. That is correct. That is correct. All right, so 3 plus 1/2 n equals 15 was correct. Good job. One more example for you, please. One more example. This is second example is a little bit like example 2 in your book. Okay? It's written just a little bit backwards, a little bit different. So let's focus. 19 is 2 more than 5 times a number. I would like you to write that one down somewhere in your margin. How are you going to write that one down? 19 is 2 more than 5 times a number. Excuse me. Break it down. Translate those words. We've described it using words. We've got to define a variable, and now you're translating. 19 is, so that's the easy part, right? 2 more than 5 times a number. Who would like to take a shot? Lay. Well, 19 is. What are we going to do for is? Equals 2, and then, very good, plus. Very good. All right, 19 equals 2 plus 5n. All right, so we have taken this word sentence. We've described it in words. We've broken it down and replaced those words with numbers and come up with we've translated into a number equation, okay? I want you to try the got it at the bottom of the page. I want you to do 2 out of the 3. So choose 2 out of those 3 to do.